Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa, or the rainy truck, as I should say. Y'all, if you're brand new to the channel, I usually do have my sofa to go along with the name of the channel, if you will. But while I'm moving, selling my house, I'll do these kind of rogue in the truck type updates or whatever for certain things. Because it's the quickest way to get stuff out, and it's just easy with all the dogs at home and all that kind of stuff, with noise and whatnot. So I apologize for no sofas, what I'm getting at. Now, before we get into today's thing, couple of things. Number one, I got this new mic. Let me know what you think of the volume on this. If you're familiar with my videos, do you notice a difference? Does it sound better? It's just a different mic than the little fluffy one. Also, it has this little self-illumination thing. I didn't know this was here. We're fancy, we're credentialed. Now, what we're talking about today, and I'm gonna do a couple of things. Number one, we're gonna do a live chat on it tonight for a Sunday night live chat on the podcast channel. Then we're gonna do, I'm gonna go through and actually read truly through the motion. But literally, as I was doing this morning, I had two more people hit me up, one on Instagram, one on email about this. And I was like, I'm gonna do a truck update because it's gonna be a minute before I go through the other stuff for this channel. And people ask me my opinion on this, and what that is Carl, Juror 15, statement, interview with Lauren, true crime, and Lori's motion for a new trial. Okay, so let's just start off with this, with the statement. Yes, I remember the statement being made. We talked about this. We were even doing a live chat when it happened. Pretty shocking, right? Okay, then, of course, as we expected, Lori is asking for a new trial. Now, she is citing numerous reasons, but to me, the anchor reason is Carl's statement. Now, am I surprised that Lori asked for a new trial? Absolutely not. This is standard protocol. Am I surprised that it's for this reason? Absolutely not. Once this came out, once he made the statement, 100% was like, there you go. Here we go. This is one of the reasons. Now, I'll go over, and when I say go over, we'll talk about some of the things that she did. Now, what I want to do is, I'm trying to decide what should we talk about first. Let's talk about Carl's interview with true crime Lauren. Okay, so again, Carl's juror number 15. Now, first of all, from my understanding, this is also the guy that the judge had to talk to a few times about a phone and this and that. And this is also the juror who was asking medical questions, so on and so forth. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'm just going to read through the quick little notes that I did about his interview. First of all, he said that he blocks out evidence that he doesn't feel relate to conspiracy. Now, this, I think, can be a good and bad thing, okay? When he did some of the things that he cited, I was like, yeah, but this is context, right? And I guess the part that made me worry about it is I was like, he was very close to saying not guilty for Lori. I mean, he took this up to the very end, okay? It was a not guilty for him. Now, I will say this also, when we were watching this in the podcast channel, and again, for the most part, all of us were very much it's obvious we have a bias. We followed the case, right? It's almost impossible to not think a certain way, right? But there was a level of okay, when are we going to get to the hard conspiracy facts or this or that or whatever? And it was they really rounded it out. So some of what he was saying, I could see. However, the overall context of everything that he said is where I was like, oh, we're lucky we got a guilty verdict out of this one. Very much so, because I think a lot of people also felt the same way, where they were like, okay, yeah, they tied it in towards the end, right? But there was other factors going on. And for Carl, I just honestly got the feeling that unless there was a videotape of Lori saying, I conspired to do this, he was going to be like, she didn't do it, okay? Now, also, he said that he was looking for things that show 100% conspiracy. We kind of just touched on that. Okay. Let's talk about the statement. Now, in Lauren's interview, she point blank asked him, and he says he doesn't remember where he learned that Lori had the 3 convictions. So he's not denying this. In my opinion, and y'all tell me if you watched it verbatim, the whole interview with Lauren, when she asked him this question, he's not saying, oh no, and clarifying. He's like, yeah, I don't know where I heard that from, which to me says, so he is confirming that he did in fact know this information. Okay, now again, tell me if you have a different opinion, because I've seen some people saying like the way he said it was almost like it was meant to be almost like combining two things together or whatever. However, I would think if that was the case, and again, this is just based on what he said and then Lauren's interview, that he would be like, this would be my response. Like, oh no, absolutely. I didn't know that before. What had happened was when I was saying the sentence, I meant this, but he didn't say that. All he said was, yeah, I don't know where I heard that from. I don't remember, which is very odd to me, right? Like, you don't remember that? Which either tells me a couple of things. Either he knows where he knew it from, but he's not saying, or he was rumbling through so many things that he doesn't know where it was. And it was like, either way is not good, right? Okay. Another big thing for me, well, because we'll circle back to this statement in a minute, but let's keep going. Doesn't know why they bothered with the trial. Okay. Now, on one, remove all emotion, right? And I mean, I don't feel this way, but I've seen other people say this too. Oh, she's already got, she's not leaving. It's a waste of taxpayer money, whatever. I go two views on this right here. First and foremost, justice for Charles, right? Closure, he counts too. It gives me goosebumps. He counts too. You see this countless times where there's like, say, a serial killer or whatnot, where say they can't get a charge on, I'm making this up, victim B, but they can victim DEF. You know, and it's almost like I want justice for my victim, for my person, that kind of thing, right? Okay, take emotional part out. Basically dot your I's, cross your T's. Heaven forbid something happened to her other convictions and they get overturned, right? Well, here you have this conviction right here. So to me, I'm like, no, absolutely. And again, she could plea out, she could do what she wants to, but she's going to trial, and that's her right. You know, and I 100% cool, got it. So that was odd. He was the one asking that he confirmed the medical questions. Then he asked Lauren how jurors were selected, who picks them. And I was like, okay, some of the questions that he asked, like that, like I use that as the anchor example. I was like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like, weren't you there? Weren't you part of that process? Like some of the stuff that he asked, to me, I was just like, how did you, what? And now I get, it's confusing, it's blurry, and I understand that. You might want more of a legal, like, how is that? Like, does Lori get to say? Like, I can see it from that, but like the questions he's asking were just like, this is kind of, you know, bothersome, right? Sorry, my notes are behind me right here. Okay, those were the main key points that I put down for him. Now let's talk about Lori for a second. Okay, so in her motion, it says Juror 15 made the statement in an interview that he had prior knowledge of her convictions. She says that none of that was brought up in trial, so he shouldn't have known about it. And I mean, this is correct, right? He shouldn't have. Then they quote the statement, you know how I feel sorry for her, comma, wait, I'm sorry. You know, I feel sorry for her, comma. Driving home yesterday, I was like, God, she's spending the next 3 lives in prison. So I don't, like, none of that statement I can really wrap around my head to, like, you should not have known about that, basically. Okay. The state has to prove that this didn't taint the verdict. I personally think they'll be able to. Because even listening to him, where he's like, oh, I mean, it could go both ways, because I was going to say he was basically like not guilty to the very end, you know, and so you could argue, well, yeah, because he went home and Googled it and saw that she was whatever, and then he said this over here. Okay, then other reasons, so she does cite other reasons and whatnot. Discovery, citation, prosecutorial misconduct, court's lack of impartiality, and I'll go over those deeper like tonight when we go over the thing in the live chat and whatnot. So let's kind of circle back around. I personally think, and if there is a way to where it's not like infringing on First Amendment rights and this, that, and the other, and where if a judge put in something where it's like a cooling off period, I see people call it, and I agree, whatever it is, for 24 hours, you are not allowed to talk to media, and media, don't you dare stand right outside that door and wait for them. There is a cooling off period. After that, they can do whatever they want. And in that cooling off period, hey, go home and talk to mom and dad and daughter and son and friend and neighbor. You can do all that. but do not talk to the media for your own safety. Because that's the big thing. Take out for a second it jeopardizing the cases. Obviously, that's most important. The jurors, in my opinion, this is a very dangerous thing for them. They don't know what they're stepping into. And when you get designated as the poster boy or girl for why the trial got overturned, you're talking putting your life in danger. Okay? Think about some of the jurors, what they faced on Casey Anthony, these high-profile cases that don't go the way the public wants it to, and then you put a face to it. So imagine if this case gets overturned and Carl is the face. For his own safety, this was not a good idea. You know what I mean? So I really feel like judges, and I don't know the laws behind it, so I can't speak to it. This is just obviously a sofa sidebar opinion here. It's easy for me to make these opinions from my truck, okay? It's easy for me to say that I wasn't on the jury. I wasn't Carl. I didn't know him. I didn't do any of that. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. It's easy for me to make critiques from the comfort of the rainy truck is what I'm getting at. So, but again, I really feel like for the integrity of the cases and the safety of the jurors, they don't need to talk to anybody right off the bat. Again, I can't fathom, even now, I'm just like, oh, I bet people are searching him down. I don't agree with that either, right? So there are some concerning things, and it's fascinating to hear how the jurors think. You know, we listened to there's several jurors that have come out now, so I've only gone through two, and I can't remember her name. Is it Tosh or Tass or Tosh, the other juror who spoke out very soon after? And I really think that she aligned herself with it made sense what she was talking about. And some of the stuff that Carl does or said, yeah, I'm not sitting here down on him. It makes sense. But there's another part where you're because he has made this statement about having prior knowledge, he didn't really outright deny it. It brings into jeopardy what did he know, right? Now, I personally think he can go before the judge and say, no, I was going to do not guilty until, we heard those statements about before we got rid of Ned or whatever, the text messages. That didn't paint my opinion or whatever, and he did do this correctly. When you go into the case, it's like, well, I was coming into this, she's innocent. And that's how you're supposed to do it, right? But for him just being like, oh no, I only listen to one news source. I don't, I have to only hear evidence for this. I have this. He made some comment about I have an ability to put aside everything that doesn't matter, and he named some things off. And I was like, those are kind of important to the overall why we're here. You know what I mean? That isn't stuff to be put aside. But again, it's also very insightful into how a juror's mind works. And again, I wasn't there, so I can't say anything. I personally think, to round this out, that this will not get her a new trial. The Carl thing. I think that the judge might have some words with him and be like, I literally told you to not do, to watch your words and what you say. And here we are. And then even further, you went back on a podcast and continued, right? Saying things that have people scratching their heads, because that's the court systems are new, where the public interacts with the court systems in the way that we do now. We didn't used to have this. We didn't used to have access. I mean, we've always, well, not always, but we've had the FOIA stuff and whatnot. But this ability to catch a juror coming out, have them on the podcast the next day, doing all this yada, yada, yada. And I like hearing it, and I'm all for it, and I like the transparency, and I think it's great. But I think that there needs to be something, some boundary, something to protect everybody in it, right? And I appreciate the interviews that are done. I absolutely love Lauren getting these people on there and talking and hearing their mindsets and hearing what they can. I love every bit of it. I'm glued to the phone, right? That's what I watch it on. But yeah, so hopefully this will not end poorly for Carl, meaning people are blowing his DMs up or trying to find him and, coming after him and all that. But I do not think that this will throw the trial. Again, to round it back out, I know I keep repeating myself at this point, I apologize. And we got thunder. I think the judge will have people come in there, Carl, whoever, talk to him, and he's going to be like, yeah, this didn't, no, this didn't affect him or whatever. So I think if he went on more and more about it, it could. But to me, he overall did sound like he came in with almost like a non-bias to a fault, almost like to where it went to a bias and her innocence, if that makes sense. And so for him to arrive at that at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, here we are. So anyways, let me know what you think. I've talked to so many of you in emails and DMs, but let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And that's it. I do appreciate you watching. And until we meet at the sofa or back in the truck, I will see y'all soon.